What's up? Episode 8 of the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm with Michael Hall. What's up, man?
Hey, nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you. And so I just give us a background of who you are, what you do, just like your life story.
My name is Michael Hall. I'm a kicker. I'm a punter. I'm from Racine, Wisconsin. I grew up in Kenosha, though, out like way out in the county on the border of Wisconsin and Illinois, like right in between Milwaukee and Chicago, in like a very rural area. I grew up literally, you know how they say like my town only had one street light.
Mm-hmm.
Like I grew up like right next to the street light, like honestly, or the crossroad between 45 and C, and a lot of people in town knew me as like the kid that rode around town on his dirt bike, and just always seemed like there was like a lot of business going on in my home, because I grew up in a foster home where there was 13 children other than me, and I was number 7, so I was very middle. If you ever seen the movie Keeper by the Dozen, it's like that, but 10 times more crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because the children that came to my parents' foster home were coming from situations to where you know their parents were doing drugs, their parents were being abusive, and my own mother, thankfully, I never had to witness any of that,
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, unthankfully, because, my mother, she was a very young girl when she had me. And a few days after having me, she jumped out the window of the hospital and just took off. And she did that to evade arrest. She had a record and stuff. And, she was afraid that if she stayed after giving birth to me, that the police would arrest her and take her to prison. So, she fled, she took off, and I was put into foster care. And, I grew up, in a really good home, and, it was actually pretty great. I went to Westosha Central High School. It's like I would say it's a rural, again, like I keep using this word, but yeah, it's a rural school. Like we had one of the highlights of the school was it's farm day, when all the farmers' kids would drive their tractors to school,
Mm-hmm.
and our football team really wasn't that good, but there I really fell in love my senior year. It really wasn't until like the very end that, I fell in love with kicking. And, you know, with the background that I had, um, coming from an area where there wasn't a lot of diversity and stuff, and, just uh, my parents, not like I had a lot of issues with like identity and stuff like that, because it's like you don't match up, you don't see anybody around you that you can identify with.
Mm-hmm.
And so like after, you know, doing kind of well in high school with football, I didn't really see a future in it, so I joined the Navy to find a lot of direction and stuff. And the interesting thing about the military is us in society, we always believe like that's a place where you would go to find structure. But what I found was it's not really that great of a place to go if you have no base at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just completely lacked anything. And, it really gave me a lot of really great tools to go on in the future. But, when I left the military, I still had a lot of growing up to do. And, I graduated high school in 2013. I left the military in 2015, only after like 2 years. I was injured and stuff. And, I kind of like felt in me that I had a bigger purpose. So, that's when I started playing football. And, I started on a really, crazy journey of trying to figure out how to not only, better myself and change my situation, and changing generational issues, that actually changed with me getting adopted, like that changed a little bit of what my destiny was going to be. And some things going along with the military and stuff let me help me realize that, and it helped me realize my own flaws, but uh once I came out of the military, the transition to civilian life, because of the way that our society is set up, is extremely, extremely harsh. You'd think that it would be more welcoming, but I quickly became homeless,
Mhm.
and you know, I didn't really understand the recruitment process for football, but I also really didn't, think about it. I just was thinking, what can I do to better myself? And then somebody said, well, why don't you go back to playing football? And I stopped and I thought about it for a second, and I realized, well, that was something that I was good at, you know. And the funny thing about it is, when I was in high school, we weren't good at football. So to me, any other sport that I loved, like soccer, track, basketball, those were in the forefront of my mind. I dreamed of, my name is Michael Hall. I was born right in between Milwaukee and Chicago, and I was born on August 23rd. So, and I'm actually the third Michael, in a line. So to me, that spells like I'm going to be the next Michael Jordan.
Mhm.
But I didn't grow to be 6'8",
Right.
I'm only 6 foot tall. So, and I also loved soccer, and I was fast, and, I had a really strong leg. And so it just seemed, every time somebody was like, kick this ball, kick this ball, kick this ball, it just seems so natural, it just seems so right. And there's a funny thing about these things like shooting, archery, golf, anything that has to do with getting into a flow and a rhythm and having some type of trajectory, that you'll notice that people start developing philosophies and motifs and like those type of things, even in boxing. There's a lot of metaphors in boxing and stuff like that. And when I was in a really hard place, during those times when I was homeless after the military, I, it's funny because I know it's a pretty, hot topic right now, but I started watching Joe Rogan, and and I started paying attention to, characters like Joey Diaz and all these other people, and they would talk about these struggles, and then he'd have
Mm.
philosophers on and stuff. And like that honestly changed my life, dude. Like it really did, because, I started looking at like the circle that was around, like what is filling my mind, what is the people I'm around, what is all this stuff. And I started vetting everything, and I started vetting my mind, and I started cleansing it all, and just really just trying to strip myself of, Joe always says like the ego and stuff like that, and a lot of other people say that, and stuff. But I just really wanted to find peace in myself. And once I found that, that really helped me just, man, elevate myself just instantly. And I was able to enroll in school, see my grades go slowly go up and up. I graduated high school with a 1.8. Now I have a 3.8, and like that's a complete turnaround. I started college. I had to withdraw from a lot of classes. I had a lot of D's and F's and stuff, and the way that I turned that around was, I started becoming more mindful and just really locking in, and just making notes, just simply just being like, oh, I did this, or I got to do this, or I should do this that time. And it was a very gradual process of like, first I'm going to be aware of it, then I'm going to try to implement something, and then I'm really, 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 really going to be strict about it. and then but it comes in waves. I had to kind of like, even right now with like I'm working out, you know, I'm in a time to where and I'll get to this part of my story too. It's just that I'm at a time where I'm taking a break. I'm preparing to do big things, and it was just really figuring out where is the flow in my life, and how do I get to that, to where I know when my peak moments are going to be and to where my low moments are going to be. And uh it's another really funny thing is like, I don't know if you ever heard somebody say this, is like, I seen Buddha, or like they recognize
Yeah.
something great in somebody else.
Mhm.
I seen God in Bill Murray. So
Mhm.
in the sense of there's like movies like Groundhog Day, and there's all
Mm.
these other movies and stuff like
Mhm.
that where he's saying really great philosophical things. And one time he said, I don't really remember, this is a paraphrase, but it was like, no matter if the moment is big or low, it's all the same.
Mhm.
And so, like, when I was homeless and I was going through a series of events, the first place that I came to out the military was, I went back to Wisconsin and I lived there for a while. But recognizing that, the people around me and all that was an issue, and then again, knowing that I had that issue with identity,
Mhm.
I met my biological family and I moved to Alabama. And so then I was completely surrounded by only Black people. And it was complete culture shock to me. And I found a lot of issues with that, you know, a lot of really interesting issues where, like, I had dark skin and my cousins had lighter skin.
Mhm.
And and a lot of people in town and stuff like that also, like, they had some types of issues with my darker skin, and they called me names. Black people, they called me names for my dark skin, and I never imagined that as a kid. Like, being around all these white people and stuff, and thinking like, oh, I'm gonna go around Black people, then they're gonna finally, like, they're gonna embrace me, like, hey, it's you. You're finally here. Like, you're one of us, But they'd be like, your skin is dark. Like, that's strange. Like, why is that? And me not knowing my mother, not knowing my father, I'm just like, that just is,
Right,
and
yeah. I get it.
it just was interesting. Like, you constantly go to different parts of your life and you expect to feel different on the inside, but it's like, it's continually the same,
Mhm.
and I from that point, from living with my cousins and my aunts, I was having a lot of issues mentally with the military and coping with some of the issues that I had while going in it. And what I realized was during that time was that I was struggling with PTSD and complex PTSD, from having a traumatic childhood and also going through the military. These two things blended together, and that's what's called complex PTSD. And I really can't explain all the facets to you of, like, the doctor side, but I can explain to you, the feeling.
Right.
And at first, what I sought out to change and to help myself was, I went to the VA, and I went to the VA almost like religiously. I also went and did religious things religiously. I sought Jesus. I sought everything that Tuscaloosa had to offer as far as some type of help for my brain. I actually put it's funny. AB said, what do you say about was the Buccaneers put him inpatient or something?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because at that time, if somebody would have offered me that, I would have been like, thank you. And I would have taken that money, and I would have, you know, sought something. But, it's funny because I understand that people with mental health and stuff like that would have approach to going to a place like that, because when you go to places like that, oftentimes they don't give you the help that you think that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two sides to it. you know if you have cancer or something, you're going to have to go to a doctor, and he's going to tell you have cancer, because
Right.
you can't look in the mirror and say you're cancer. And that's the same thing with like mental health. The same thing with like, you can't be aware of yourself completely. And so
Right.
like you need something to tell you what's up. But like the system that we have for that just isn't it. And I'm not going to come here and like go deep into detail with that. But
Mm-hmm.
I went and I had some bad experiences with the VA time and time and time and time again. And that led me to stop seeking them out, stop uh, trying to obtain different types of therapy and stuff through them. And I started, really watching more Joe, really going really deep into the YouTube realm, and trying to figure out like, there's a term called pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps. And it's funny because now instead of listening to Joe Rogan, I listen to this speaker called Alan Watts, and he speaks of the Tao and the Tao, which is the same thing. The Tao and the Tao are the same thing, but some people call it Tao, some people call it the Tao. But either way, it's the way. It's just a philosophy of how people should do things. And I read books like The Art of War and just different things that have to do with philosophy from over on that side of the world, and different speakers and stuff, and how they compartmentalize things. And the thought of like, you can't lift yourself up, you can't like pull yourself up off, because you're the person doing the pulling,
Right.
and so it's like, how do I become, at one point, thinking that I have to escape my struggle pushed me so far in life.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, I got to also accept the things that are going on around me. And, I had to, the thing that the VA was always trying to get me to do that I really didn't want to do, is that they had, no matter whether you are an addict or not, you have to take AA courses a lot of the times if you're going to do uh, any type of self-help program, whether it's a Veterans Administration or any other place outside of there, whether it's civilian or whatever. And a thing that they talk about in AA or NA is taking things, well, two things. They talk about taking things day by day. And then they also talk about accepting life. I mean, I don't really remember exactly. It's funny because like I used to say these things like every day, but now it's like I forget and I paraphrase. But you got to accept life on life's terms. And so, over and again, I'm doing these things that I don't like: the Navy, football to some aspect, but I'm trying to think like, what are the parts that I can pull out to make me to elevate me to a higher purpose. And those were the things that I pulled out: is how can I accept where I'm at and go further. So I embraced the VA, and I started working for the VA. And I worked for I moved from Tuscaloosa to Birmingham. And so I got out of the military in 2015. I moved to Birmingham around 2016. I worked for the Birmingham Police Department, um, just like moving things around, getting coffee, working as a working security. Like I stood like next to a gate, and I had a walkie-talkie. Um, I helped old people to their doors, back and forth, you know, just different parts. I cleaned the OR and the VA for a while. I did that for about 9 months, and then I started really getting serious about school, and my grades started turning around. So that's when I started, reaching out to football teams and stuff. And my first thought was, now that I feel good, I feel better, as a person. I feel good as a scholar. Now I think I can actually take this jump and go into the football realm. And I started looking at teams and stuff, and I actually searched what was the worst football schools, or like what was the worst, who had the worst records, or like who was the least, who did the worst at kicking for those years. And then I would contact those schools, and none of those schools contacted me. Not a single one. Like I contacted maybe like 200 some schools, and the number 2 junior college in the nation contacted me, which is Butte Community College. They recruited me, and I went out there like immediately. But when I went out there, I didn't, again, I was reading like a lot of philosophy, a lot of, self-help things. So like I'm thinking like I got to make a move by faith, and I really did. Like I made an uncalculated move by faith, and I just moved. I went out there, and California, and me going from Wisconsin in the military, I didn't really realize there's a jungle out there, and I went like head first, like metaphorically, like head first into the concrete, stepping off the Greyhound bus, just looking out. The first place that I stepped out to in California was Skid Row, and I was on a bus full of people, and Butte Community College is all the way in Northern California. Skid Row is all the way in the south. I had to travel all the way north. And, I remember stepping on Skid Row, looking around LA and just being like, whoa, like this area is pretty intense, And I didn't really think it was going to be a depiction of like all of California, but it really was like a omen and I didn't really realize that. But I went up to Sacramento, and I had a Section 8 voucher, which for veterans is called vocational. It's called I don't remember exactly what the exact term is, but it's a Section 8 voucher. They have special Section 8 vouchers just for veterans, and I had one, and I did what was called porting. So I was able to send it from Alabama, which is where I was granted it, and then send it to California. So they exchanged vouchers, so to speak, and I was granted a new voucher, and I was to be granted a new voucher in California.
Right.
This was all talked about prior to, and when I got to California and I went to the VA and I was like, "Can I get my voucher to go get my house and start this new life in California?" They said, "Sir, we don't know what you're talking about." I had talked to people on the phone for months and stuff like that. I've been talking to the football coach for months and stuff like that. And that was a realization to me, you know, that like that was a bad move. And I went on to Butte. And a funny thing was that my best friend from high school, he actually lived in Chico, California. So um, I moved in with him for a few days, and I got cut from Butte because I didn't have my life together. I didn't have I didn't have a house. I didn't have a car. I couldn't get to practice. I couldn't do all these other things. And that made me realize it's like you need those things. Like how do you function and do these things in life? And then I look back at my life and I'm like, whoa, man, nothing that I did in life uh prepared me to, because I didn't set those things in place and before.
Right.
But then I look back on it and I'm like, wait. But here's one thing that I did do. I went to the military and I learned skills. I played sports my entire life. So the one thing that I know I can do is I can kick. And so I clung to that idea that I'm really good at kicking. I'm really good at working out. And so I just let that propel me into where I was at now. At Butte, I mean, I transferred from Butte to Yuba Community College. Uh, we won 8 games straight. I um, I made more field goals in that year. I had more field goal attempts than any college player in the state of California for that year because my coach had that much faith in me because he believed that I had that much confidence. And when I tell you that when I had nothing, all I had was this leg and the belief that I could make a field goal. And even to this day, you look at my Instagram, people look at this and they'll be like, oh, well, he's living a little bit better than he was. Like I was literally living in a cardboard box my freshman year of college, playing some of the best football that I've ever played in my life. You know, I wasn't nowhere near the kicker that I am today, but I made plays happen because I had the heart and the belief. And now I'm a lot more well-rounded as a kicker and as a player and stuff like that. But you need times like that so that you can think about it now. And I went from Yuba to Fond du Lac Traveling Community College, and then my last stop was Ottawa, Arizona University. And here at Ottawa, Arizona University, we won the conference championship, and we went to playoffs, and we had an amazing run. And I feel proud, even though it's NAI. I feel proud of where I finished at in college. And I'm getting a lot of uh, professional looks and offers and stuff like that. And I don't really know how deep you wanted me to go into things. So, I left it open to you to ask me questions.
Yeah.
So, that's coming full circle.
All right. So, wow, that was a lot to take in. I appreciate how you started and how deep you got with your story, because most times I ask people what their story is and they give like a brief 5-year summary. I appreciate like you giving me your actual story. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh
I can go deeper and deeper and deeper. Like, it really should be a book or a movie. It should be like a
mhm.
Netflix series, but that's that's what I can give you. And I've been, like, again, like I sit and I think about these things a lot, and
Mhm.
it's really good for me to say it to you. When you message me, I'm like, thank God, because I got this camera, I got this stuff over here and whatever, and I want to set this stuff up and I want to share my story.
Right. Yeah, no, that's yeah. So do you know who Gary Vee is? Gary Vaynerchuk.
um it sounds familiar.
So he's like a businessman, and he's like, I've been listening to a lot of his stuff lately because I'm trying to, you know, I'm doing what he says. So in one of his, because he's a public speaker as well, and he says, um, always find what you're really good at, find what you love, and
Yeah.
then notice what you hate, and then triple down on what you love. So for me, that's playing football, that's fighting, and that's doing my podcast and learning about the human body and things like that. So that's what I'm tripling down on right now. And then what I hate, I hate, honestly, I hate school. I hate so much to a degree. All right. I don't
Yeah,
hate school
I
completely,
I feel
but
you 110%. Yeah, like you have to embrace the suck, but like the here, hold on. What is that saying? This camera setup, has a lot of advantages and a lot of disadvantages.
yeah.
But yeah, where
So,
are we?
so we were talking about like tripling down on what you can do, what you love, and then cutting out everything you hate.
Mm-hmm.
And he's come this Gary Vaynerchuk. I recommend you checking him out. He has a lot of insightful information. But in this particular one, he was like, triple down, find everything you're good at, find what you love, and then triple down on that, and then you'll be special. And he dropped out of high school. He's like, I hate school. I'm never going to school. He took his dad's wine business from like a $3 million company to a $60 million company, and then
Mm-hmm.
started his own company. And he's like, you're never going to be happy, doing something you hate. And he's like, I've had friends that have $10 billion and they get whatever they want whenever they want. They live that life. And I also have friends that make $50,000 a year. But the difference is that $10 billion, he doesn't know who his self is. He doesn't know what he wants, and he's ultimately not happy because he's chasing this dream that money's going to fix everything when it doesn't. And then his $50,000 friend plays on 17 softball teams and just lives his life to the fullest, works, I think he's a teacher. So, he's working, has an extended amount of time off, and he's doing what he loves though. And he's way happier than the one with $10 billion.
That's so funny. My older brother, he was like a professional softball player, and he played on like 17 softball teams, I swear. And like I'd spend my summers just going, and at those softball games we'd sit at the back of the fence, and
Mm-hmm.
we'd pick up the balls after they hit them back, and then we'd sell them back to him. But it's funny that you said that because I was listening to a speaker, and he said that he asked a billionaire, like, why do you do what you do? And he was like, because I, like, what else am I going to do? Because I don't
Mm-hmm.
know anything else to do. And that's really how I felt like in my life. I never liked school. And that's why I went to the military, was because I thought that it was going to be less school. But, there's also a saying, I think uh, it's in the Kabbalion. It says, as so above, so below, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much like the thing that you're going to try to avoid, you're going to run right into it. It's going to hit you right in the face.
Yeah.
So the Navy was a lot of school. Like it was like an insane amount of school. And I actually became better at studying. I became better at reading. I became better at writing. I mean, it's it's crazy how like some things about school like you really hate, but again, it's like, why do you hate it?
Right.
Well, maybe it's the classes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I myself, I have to I one time in one semester of school, I took the same professor. I had him for 4 classes because I liked him. I liked the classes that he made. So I had him for 4 times, and he probably got sick of me. He probably started hating me. But you know what? I got 4 A's and I got 2 perfect grades. And I hate school. And every day that we were in class, it didn't even really feel like we were in class because, I created that situation. I created that situation for me to, like, in the Navy we say, set yourself up for failure. Well, SO above, SO below. You can set yourself up for success. So I always believe that you're creating situations for yourself, and it's always about, what you did before. As George Washington said, the only reason why we study history, I think it was George Washington, I'm not really sure, but I think he said that the only reason why we study history is so that it doesn't repeat. And so like I think about like my own stuff that I've done, and I'm just like, whoa, if I don't like it, how can I like it?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right. Yeah, 100%. And it's like, I mean, Gary V, he said, He's like, if you ask me to go hang a clock, or because somebody asked him, why don't you get bored? And he's like, if you are burnt out, and he's like, if you ask me to go hang a clock on a wall, I'm burnt out before I even get there because I have
Yeah.
no interest in doing it. But when you ask me to get up and work, what do you say, 4:30 to 10 o'clock every day, Monday
Yeah.
through Friday, he's like, when I wake up at 4 o'clock or 4:30, I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. I want to go to
Yeah,
work. I
of
want to,
course.
because he's like, I love my job. I love what I do. And I just think that a lot of people get lost in trying to either fit a social norm or trying to just make as much money as you can, and that's fine if that's what you're happy to do.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I don't think you necessarily need a bunch of money to be happy. I mean, there's people, I think happiness ultimately comes within and what you love doing.
Yeah. And it's really interesting that I looked at your page and I seen health on there, and I'm like, well, what's the aspect of health that I can really talk about? And like mental health is like a really strong aspect of you know, the part about being a kicker is you, again, I'm gonna say this again, you have to prepare yourself for the situation.
Right.
It's gonna happen, it's gonna come. It's first down, it's
Hmm.
second down, it's third down. Oh shit. Now it's fourth down. What are you gonna do? You're gonna be ready
Right.
because it came. And that's the part that I love about it.
Hmm.
The best part to me in basketball was shooting free throws. The best part to me in soccer was the goal kicks, or yeah, it was the goal kicks, the goalie kicks, the corner kicks. I just like kicking. But you know, the point is that I kicked the ball against my parents' garage a million times. I went out and I shot that free throw a million times. And so I really wasn't that good at playing basketball. I
Hmm.
really wasn't that good at playing soccer. But what I really was good at was creating these situations where I could lock in and send that ball at the target, you
Hmm.
know? And you have to be mentally, physically, and I would say some aspect, and I might change this word, but like socially, you have to be ready to set yourself up to play there. Because
Hmm.
if you go to the game and you're on your way to the game and you're like your girl's calling you, your house is on fire, your car has a hole in it, everything in your life is going wrong, then when you get to the field, how in the world could you possibly play?
Right.
But at the same time, I also love playing in those conditions because like that's what I grew up with. And so I had to figure out how to first be okay with everything being wrong and then everything being okay, and how to find balance and flow in my life. And then that culminates to those few moments, those few seconds in which I'm going to perform my duty. I'm going to kick that field goal.
Hmm.
And it's interesting. It's like almost like threading a needle to where you have this big, long strand, and it all is going to this very fine little point. Everything is coming together,
Hmm.
and you have to just fit it. And it's like threading a needle, I say, because what happens when you try to thread a needle? And this is a metaphor I believe I got from Joe Rogan, is that you try and what happens? It goes all over the place, but when you relax and stuff like that, you know it went right through. And it takes a lot of just going into yourself and just analyzing, like, oh man, why do I like this color? Why do I like that? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? Like, and finding that peace and compartmentalizing a lot of things, you know. And I feel like in our society, that's a lot of stuff that's missed, you know, is how to compartmentalize a lot of things.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. Uh, I mean, and I can attribute to when you say I like playing in the worst possible conditions. There's nothing better than because I play quarterback.
Yeah,
And so there's nothing more I like than being down, let's say 21-14 going with 2
coming
minutes
back.
left, and I have to score or we lose.
Yes,
And
sir.
it's like that there's nothing better than that because you're either a hero or you're a zero. And
And what's the worst, man? And what's the
yeah,
worst? When you
I,
see me go on that field, huh?
yeah,
That's the
well,
worst.
100% when you punt. And like Pat McAfee,
Yeah.
he'd said on his podcast one time, he was like, I hated being a punter because while I'm always like my best seasons are the team's worst seasons,
Yeah.
because when you punt the ball a lot, you're gonna lose. Like
Yeah.
that's not a recipe for success. Well, I guess that's not necessarily true. Like there's teams in college football like the Iowa Hawkeyes
Yeah.
punt it 18 times a game, but they have such a great defense and
Mhm.
such a great punter that I mean, good luck if I'm pinned inside the 10, then
Hey,
I'm
that's how my
instantly
college
annoyed.
was this year, man. Hey, I'm gonna say this every time I get an interview. Austin Bond is the best punter in the nation. We had the best duo.
Mhm.
Out of Arizona University had the best duo in 2021, you know, in the nation. But the the funny thing about that is that like I wanna be I wanna hit the game winning field goal in the
Right.
Super Bowl
Hmm.
tomorrow. No, I'll do it right now. Like I feel like if you put me in it right now, I'll go and I'll do it. Like there's no doubt in my mind.
Hmm.
But it's like, would you rather hit the game winner or would you rather hit the first one, put the team on the board, and then that sets up the team, and then we open up the floodgates on them,
Hmm.
and then you never have to kick again.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can hit them big touchbacks, I can pin them. We can get them punts, we can pin them. I'd rather be a kicker than a punter because I set the team up for success and I'm not necessarily the bearer of bad news. I'm coming to bring that energy,
Yeah.
that pump. And
Hmm.
so when I looked at players like Marquette King and stuff, who Marquette King, you're the fucking GOAT, man. You're the GOAT, bro. And I tell him that all the time, man. But watching him when I was a kid, it was like you seen some type of, and again, Pat McAfee, he has this. They have the ability to where they could just be like walking across the field, and you're just like, whoa, like who is that? What is that? What's going on here?
Hmm.
And it's just like even Pat's like vernacular, like it's a thing. Get it done, like say all those little like I love euphemisms, man.
Hmm.
And then like Midwest, what like it's just like he just got like the whole entire
Hmm.
package. Him and Marquette King, you know, they both have like that whole entire thing going on, you know. And but they're not kickers, man. They're not kickers. They're punters.
They're punters. Yeah.
And so if a kicker came to the field and we had some type of flavor to us at all, like we see like with Young Ho Koo,
Hmm.
with Blankenship, with you know, some of these other guys that are a little bit more expressive, you know, destroying the world gravitates towards that because
Hmm.
they're coming to bring the positivity, they're coming to bring the energy. And when they come onto the field, it's like, hey, they're gonna put up numbers, you
Right.
know? And one thing that I think that you know, the NFL, you know, I'm fine with just kicking the ball, whatever. I'll just kick the ball. Like
Hmm.
it's cool. You know, I'm I'm a I'm a world-class athlete. I'll say it, I should be in the Olympics 110%. And if the NFL wants to limit me to just being a kicker, I'll collect that check and I'll keep my body healthy. But
Mhm.
I'll tell you, if they said, go get this tackle, go run this ball, we can do this fake, and the coach is willing to do it, I have the film, I have, the credentials, I have the speed, I have the intangibles to make those happen. And I think that that's an area, we see Lamar Jackson. I'm not going to say I can be K Jackson, I'm not going to say, that could be the kicking version of Lamar Jackson, but I think that there should be some changes, that there should be like some thoughts of like, hey, these guys can run, these guys can throw,
Mhm.
these guys could do anything from where they're at back there. And they actually can see some stuff, from their vantage point, So to put a defense on their heels and be like, okay, well, it's fourth down. And even though the kicker's back there, well, the kicker runs a 4.48. That's fast. We don't know what he's going to do.
Mhm.
That would be, you know, if I was a safety, I've never played safety, but I think that would cause some issues,
Oh yeah.
thinking like, am I gonna have to return this, or is he gonna or is he gonna do a fake?
Right. Yeah, no. I'm glad you mentioned destroying because that dude is a freak of nature. I mean,
Yeah,
I've never seen somebody run such crisp routes, but also boot it like 70 yards
yeah.
consistently.
And I
But
think that he's
oh,
showing what's possible. And there's an issue to where you see me and I have the ability to I would go and I work with a person that could teach me how to run routes.
mhm,
Or I go work with a quarterback coach and go throw him routes or something. Or work with whoever that it is. But it's just like the market to be that, as to be a kicker, route runner, all that, the NFL isn't, they ain't open to that.
mhm.
And so I'd like to create that market. I'd like to be something like that. But like I said again, it's whatever the coaches, I'm willing to do whatever the coaches want me to do. But at the same time, like that's a subject that a lot of people should be talking about more.
Yeah. And I one of the main reasons why I wanted to get you on this podcast, especially I reached out to you before all this happened, but it made me more excited to get you on after this happened. So last week in the divisional round, I think out of 4 games, there were 3 game-winning field goals.
Mm-hmm.
And this week there were, I think there was back-to-back game-winning. No, there was only one. The Rams scored a touchdown. And as a kicker, and like Pat McAfee says, it's good for the brand. It's good for the brand. I think um, kickers don't get the respect they need
Man, you
because
see this? This is stalking me, and it's
mhm,
going to the
yeah,
moon.
yeah, no,
You know?
literally, like kickers, like I said, I play quarterback, so it's like when I see when I get a field goal unit on the field, most times it's like close but no cigar. We're there, but we're not in the end zone. And so
Yeah,
you kind of go to the sideline, you're like, dang it, like, you know, we're close. We're close. We're just one dropped ball away from a first down. We're one missed block, and so Evan McPherson, I think, great kicker. You know
amazing.
how he was like in the divisional round, goes out, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship, boots the game winner, and then he's next week after that they go into Kansas City, and they're like, okay, looks like I'm going to the Super Bowl, kicks another one. I just think like that kind of energy from a kicker, especially now in overtime, it's a little different after you've already gotten a stop. It's like you don't feel as short, but like the game first drive when the Bengals came here and Kansas City threw up 21 on them and they only had 3 and it was their first drive. I know Joe Burrow went over there to that sideline and was like, we're going to need a little more than this. But at the same time, kickers will make you or break you. I mean, we've seen it. A good kicker
Yeah.
will take you so far,
Yeah.
but a bad kicker will cut you so short.
I mean, I'm I mean, I'm gonna tell you, it's two facets of it, man. Because like a good punter, we're controlling the field position,
Mm-hmm.
but also, we're also scoring points. And the good thing about, it's interesting is if you can find a kicker with a strong leg, he can hit you from deep, and he might get you some big games. But the guy who's consistent inside 40 some yards, if you got a bad quarterback or whatever, and you're always getting stuck in the red zone or
Mm-hmm.
something, like ASU, then you can have a chippy guy and you can make, a million field goals like that, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have someone like me, man, you can hit it from far, you can hit it from deep, you can hit it from wherever it needs to be, even if it's half of the field.
All right.
Like I'm gonna hit that field goal. It's even to back going back to the field position, touchbacks are a huge part of the game.
Oh
Even if
yeah.
I'm not hitting a touchback, I'm gonna hit it with enough hang to where it's gonna be placed in the corner to where it's gonna be pinned right on the line on the kickoff. And that's a huge part of the game because where they start back from, will really dictate not only from the beginning of the game, the energy, but also to like those very ending moments, kicking onside field goal, onside kickoffs. Like I've kicked two onside kickoffs to myself just this last year.
Mm-hmm.
All my onside kickoffs that I've ever kicked ever in my football career have been recovered either by me personally or by my team.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them by me personally. I have gotten more tackles on kickoffs. Me, myself, my freshman year, I led my team on tackles on kickoffs. And I also led the conference in touchbacks. Like, in this year, I also led the conference. I also led the nation in touchbacks for NAIA. Um, if I would have had like maybe like 8 more or so, which I easily could have had, because a lot of people were going to the back of the end zone and like snatching the ball like out, or they were just like going to the back of the end zone and then they were catching it and then running it to the one and then getting like hammered at the one. So it's like whatever. If they would have looked back at the film, then they would have been like, whoa, well, he could have had like probably 20 more touchbacks, but hey, I had enough, and I'm gonna have a whole lot more. Don't worry about it. But I love kicking and I love, making an impact, and I love saving the day, man. I love saving the freaking day. And I just believe in it so much. They say believe in the process or the system or whatever. You know, I really don't. I really don't. But the thing that I believe in is my ability to play and affect the game.
Yeah.
And especially my freshman year. When I was living homeless, like literally in cardboard boxes and sleeping on tents and stuff. Like I literally like they had an automotive section. Thank God for statute of limitations, but they had an automotive section in Yuba College, and like I used to, like the top part of the school is like open. It's like one of those like open foyer college, where like they have a lot of gates and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then like in between places are like a lot of open. It's like a lot of open areas, so you could like hop and jump into the area, and like I would actually like sometimes sleep in those cars before football games because it was the safest, warmest place. And I would be in there, watching Joe Rogan or like meditating and stuff and whatever. Uh, Another word that I really like is
Mm-hmm.
transmutation. I was there and I was present, but mentally I was somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And even though I didn't have the nutrition, didn't have the water, didn't have the sleep, wasn't sleeping in the right conditions, I still was able to wake up and get myself to where I needed to be. And those type of things, like in those games, and just getting to the game and making sure that I was there on time, like those things have just became the most important thing, is just taking care of like those little things. And
Right.
you know I'm just so grateful for those times that like they've brought me to where I'm at right now,
Mm-hmm.
is to where you're saying the NFL and stuff, but I just did a combine for the USFL. They had a
Okay.
special teams combine 2 weeks ago, and I performed pretty decently, and they're gonna have a draft coming up pretty soon. And one part about it is that you talk about Evan. Well, he's leaving a legacy right there. He's doing some stuff that, some kickers have never done.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about guys like Pat McAfee and Marquette King. Well, why do we talk about them? Because they did stuff that was never done before. The USFL is a brand new league, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means if I'm there, and if any type of impact that I make, I become the first person doing it, and I become a part of a legacy. And that's also why I chose to go to the college that I chose to. Like I had D1 offers and stuff like that, but I wanted to win a national championship, and I went to the college that I believe had the biggest chance to. And I went to a school that only had been around for it's only had been around for 3 or 4 years, but had already won 2 conference championships. So you know what that told me, is that this is a new program that even from the very beginning has a sense of how to win games. And under the tutelage of Mike Nesbitt, you know, we did. We won a lot of games, and he taught me a lot of things. Not only about football but about life. And it really helped me learn how to put a lot of things into perspective. You know.
Yeah, no. Um, I actually have been seeing a lot of the USFL, right? I've
Yeah,
been seeing a lot of
USFL.
it. I've been seeing a lot, like I reached out to a few quarterbacks to get on the podcast. And they had USFL in their bio, and I was like, not really familiar with this. Are you
Well,
familiar?
yeah, I'm pretty familiar with it. Because like I said last week, I did a workout, and then I have 2 more events that I'm gonna do with them and stuff, and pretty much what's going on with it is, you know, we see the success of the AAF, we see the brief success of the XFL. Um, they say the spring league had success and stuff, but the point is that people want football in the spring in America.
Oh,
And
100%.
at the same time, we're very cautious due to the times of anything that's new. So we want it, it's gonna be there, but we're afraid to be boisterous and talk about it, because it's like a hot girl standing you up. It's
Mhm.
like, imagine telling all your buddies about it, and then you get there and she ain't there. Like,
Right.
you're
No,
like,
yeah, I get
dang,
it.
yeah, like I'm not, I really, um, I really don't put much stock in it either which way, because again, what Bill Murray said, life isn't either up or it's down. It's always constant. It's always about maintaining that that same.
Right.
And I kind of feel like that's where everybody else is at with it. They don't want to get their hopes up. They don't want to get their hopes down. So they're like, they say they put in the bio and whatever and whatever and whatever. But you know, some people are putting it on there just to be relevant. Other guys are actually connected, and like me, they went to the event and stuff like that, and they talked to the people. I went and I shook the hand of the player personnel, you know, so like I know it's a real thing, it's not imaginary. But due to COVID and stuff like that, you do not know if everything is certain, if everything's 110% at all
Mhm.
at every single time.
Right.
So that rug could be pulled out at
Mhm.
any moment. But
Right.
that's what football is, people. Like
Mhm.
that's what it's going to be at any level of anything, you know. Like the only way that it's really not going to be there is if you're Tom Brady over at the upper echelon of football, you know, if you're, you know, some of these other guys that have the tenure and stuff like that. And you know, then you can just do what, I mean, not do whatever, but like then you really feel like you have the security. But then again, like it goes back to what I'm saying, being secure about where you're at, building yourself to where you're at. I would suggest for kids, and this is a really good point, you know, while we're on the subject, the USFL and new leagues, just recruitment processes in general, you have to prepare yourself for those situations. Like I was saying before, everything that I said before is going to come full circle now, because you want to make sure that your housing, you want to make sure your girlfriend or your non-girlfriend, whatever those situations, all your financials, all those things are in order before you make those next steps, whether you're going to go to the military, whether you're going to go to play football or whatever the heck it is. You know, I'm not speaking in, you know, in football terms for us. Like imagine you get a school that contacts you and you're like, man, it's a great school.
Right.
You know, they got a great program, all that stuff. Well, man, even though they have all that stuff, can you get a house there? Can you get a dorm room there? Are the dorm rooms clean? All those other little things, like, because when you get to there, when you get to that school, like what you said before, you said, I hate school. Well, what if you went to a freaking school that was lit?
Right. Yeah.
One time I went to a school that was too lit though.
Mm-hmm.
One time I went to UW Whitewater. It's a college that is literally too lit. It's in the middle. Oh, it's not in the middle. It's like at the bottom of Wisconsin. It's like right
Mm-hmm.
next to my hometown. So, you know, when I got there, all I did was party, 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 party. And it was too much. I had to create a situation to where I had some relaxation, I had some recreation, I have something a little bit. So I transferred, you know, and I've transferred 8 times. Because if you go to a situation to where you feel like you're going to do well, then you will do well. And so you have to create that situation. You should move, you should gravitate to those places that make you feel like you are more in flow, like you are more, you know, just it's more conducive to you.
Right. Yeah. No. Um. I 100% agree that you have to be in the right situation in order to prosper. I think if you force yourself to be in an insignificant situation that's not due to you, then I think you're just setting yourself up for failure. I mean, you can have as much, you could be David Goggins with the most mental toughness in the world, but if you're not at doing something that you ultimately enjoy, then
Mhm.
you're not going to see what worth
Yeah.
it has. And like that's the same thing with school, like you said. I 100% agree. But I did want to shift the focus, and you said you wanted to. You said you had started a podcast, and it fell through. I wanted to know about that.
Yeah. You know, yeah, let's shift the focus to, you know, the tech aspect and all the things that I got around me.
Okay.
Cause, you know, I bet people are gonna be pretty interested in a lot of that stuff. So another thing that I do, other than being a kicker and a punter, everything to me, it it's like a snake eating its tail. It's intertwining. I love art and I love self-expression. I love broadcasting. I love everything that has to do with all types of self-expression and stuff. And yeah, I started my own podcast, but um it fell through because like me and my friends and stuff, we just couldn't connect on times and stuff. But what I was trying to make it about was about semi-professional football and about like the life that I had before college. I played like 70 semi-professional football games in like 1 year. It was like a movie. I won a national championship. Um, I played in Wisconsin. I played throughout the Midwest, throughout the South. I played a little bit in California, and that was all before college and stuff. And because it was so unprofessional, that's what made me to go into the professional realm. But I created a lot of this art that you see behind me um, in that time frame, and I also uh, became infatuated with. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go up and grab one of these paintings. So when I was a kid, one thing that I did to you know help me cope with life was paint paintings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left the military, this is one of the paintings that I made, and it's of a samurai. Me dressed up. Kind of like in a kimono ish vibe because I really, really, really liked Samurai Jack and stuff when I was a kid. And so this is like an homage to, Samurai Jack at the end of the battles or whatever, he'd just be like, oh, he'd be bleeding from like everywhere. And, like this is kind of like how I felt like at the end of leaving the military and going through that first year of college and just dealing with the transition of going from military life to civilian life and stuff and about how hard it was and like dealing with all that really made me seek out being self-expressive, and that's why I wanted to start a podcast and stuff. But not being able to really start a podcast has really made me really go deeper into the cinematic type things and create more art and stuff. So, now I have things like, this DJI Pocket, and I got, all these other things around me so that I can just create content. And um like my Instagram is taking on a life of its own. And I'm hoping to kind of like deflect some of that into my YouTube page so that I can start creating larger bodies of work, because people really like my 1.5 minute videos. And I really think that the things that I create that are 5, 10, 20 minutes long are even more, you know, not only are they like breathtaking works of art, it's me
Right.
working out. I'll say it's me working out, doing crazy workouts, doing things around my house that are just like, it's unusual. Like I'll say like it's unusual because no, because other people wouldn't do it. And so like I'm trying to do things around my place and to make my whole entire life, everything a work of art, but like not in a real pretentious way.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is my expression. I'm wearing some clothes that I like. This is
Right.
part of my mental health. This is part of my, as I'm gonna start saying it, as AB said, this is part of my mental wealth. Because
Mm-hmm.
this right here, this is this is my self-expression, you know. It's like everything that I got on, I got off the clearance rack or something like that. But it looks good, you know? And this chair and all this other stuff, all these other things behind me, a lot of the paint and stuff, like a lot of these paints were donated. A lot of these other things like I got from either people gave them to me or I went and got them at a thrift store. So like they have emotional significance. It's not just random crap behind me,
Right.
you know? And I lay it out in a way to where, you know, all this stuff behind me isn't just thrown around. It's organized, you know?
Right.
And just by looking at it and walking in this room, you know, it just makes me smile and, you know, it makes me feel good. And so I'm trying to do that same thing throughout my whole entire house, throughout my whole entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Is just show you guys how I orient, because this is just my backdrop for, you know, just doing interviews and stuff like that. I could show you my gym. I could show you my, I got like a meditation area over there. I got like a therapy tub, you know, and I live in a double wide trailer, you know, and I have all these things.
Right.
And it's like I live within my means, you know, but again, like it's self-expressive and it's just adding my own personal flavor to things. And, you know, people are like, we talk about guys like destroying and stuff like that. Well, no offense to him, you know what I'm saying, but that dude makes an insane amount of money. And so I feel like people are drawn to him and guys like Marquette because they have it all, you know? And one thing that my grandpa said is that you can be, you know, he said the N word, but he's like, you can be, you know, a fly N word, or you can be a rich N word, you know, 9 times out of 10, a chick don't even really want a rich N word. She just wants a fly dude. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
She just she don't even really want all that extra stuff that comes with the rich guy,
Yeah.
you know, because the more humble person that's just he just has the way about him and he's just wearing the clothes that he does, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He's just doing better, you know. And so I'm preparing myself to be up at those guys' level, at the Pat McAfee, at destroying in all those level, and I am also expressing that to you guys not only through the clothes that I'm wearing, the backdrops that I have, the YouTube channel that I'm creating and stuff like that, and you know these interviews that I'm doing right now, and my Instagram page. But you know, like I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm actually like really working hard, and I'm actually like really like, you know, an honest, humble dude, you know, like I don't want to say I'm a humble guy. You know, that's not what humble people do, you know, you know, but you know, I'm a genuine freaking person that lives in a trailer and stuff like that.
Right.
And I have amazing abilities and stuff like that. And I think that that's interesting and it's worth sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys do, then, you know, check out my Instagram page. It's Kicker Michael Hall. And my YouTube page is Kicker Michael Hall. You know, and you can actually just Google Kicker Michael Hall, and a lot of stuff will just come up.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely link all that stuff below. So if you're interested in that, you can just click the links in the description. But I did want to ask you about marketing and stuff like that. Have you looked into stuff like that?
Well, you know, this is one part about it is like you look at my background and you look at me and you notice the color coordination of everything behind me. You know, when you put this up on your stuff, I had the thought of like I want the colors to pop. I want everything to be drawn towards me, not necessarily because I'm an egotistical person, because I'm trying to market myself. This is
Right.
something that I'm doing actively.
Mm-hmm.
The words that I'm choosing, you'll notice that like even in my vernacular, sometimes I'll take pauses and stuff like that. Like I noticed that smart people like Elon Musk and stuff like that, they don't just throw words. even in an interview, like they'll sit and they'll pause and you'll be like, that's kind of awkward that they just stop talking for like a second
Right.
because they don't really care. Their thought about it is, I actually want to get the most poignant, the most worth words out, you know? So I'm willing to wait until my mind lets that happen.
Right.
And so it's about being mindful and just following the footsteps of guys like Destroying and Marquette. You know, I see, even if they didn't do it meaningfully, I see the things that a lot of guys have marketing wise going for them. Like even guys like Evan and guys like Young Ho, I look at and I'm like, whoa, well, they got this, that, and this. And this is what I hear the coaches talking about. This is what I hear the people talking about. This is what I hear the agents talking about. And I build the story that is Michael Hall in accordance to, you know, what will, I it's two parts to it, man, because it's like I actively try to market, but I try not to market because if I'm aware of a lot of things that I'm doing, then I'm gonna change what I do about myself. So I try to project. I don't really want to say that I market. I mean, I do that, but like I project myself outwards and then hope that the messaging, resonates with people. And then I try to change my messaging to be more congruent to what I feel will, gravitate towards people more, and it's a lot of learning what people like and what learning what people don't like, that's what marketing is. But I take more of an artistic approach to those things
Right.
because um I come from a graphics, I come from art, I come from that background, and then football is a business. So I have thought more in more business terms because again, the only reason why this is here is because I couldn't sell it, you know, and that's why I'm playing football now. Is because I couldn't sell art. I'm gonna be honest. I couldn't sell art, and that's why I play football. But like, and also it's like the connections part about it is that I have to learn more about how to market myself individually
Mm-hmm.
because I know I didn't do a good job of that for college recruitment. And knowing that about the pros is that I'm just delegating a lot of that type of stuff to my trainers, to my agents, to a lot of other people. And so what I do to market myself is I literally turn this camera on and I point it at me, and then I do what I do,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then for my YouTube pages and all this other stuff, I try not to add no graphics. I try not to add no fluff, no crazy stuff. It's just the real deal. That's what it is. This is Michael Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to film it and portray it in a way that it's the most realistic because I don't want somebody see me on YouTube booming footballs and then I go to a workout in the NFL and I'm shanking them all over the place. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I can't show you me kicking a 70-yard field goal today and then only be able to kick a 30-yarder, when time needs to be. So marketing, I can't exaggerate. I can't be over and above on it. And you know, one thing that I had an issue with Destroying and some of these other guys is like I felt like what they market and what they sell is a product that is different than themselves. It's not a genuine, real depiction of who they are. It's, oh man, I want to sell some Bang energy drinks,
Mhm.
Hey, I got that stuff right there next to me because I like drinking it, bro. And I drink it because like that stuff's healthy for me. And honestly, I thought Bang Energy was bad for me until I turned the can around and I read that it had a bunch of healthy stuff in it. You
Mhm.
know, I'm not saying that Bang Energy is negative. I'm just saying that like there's people that their thing is marketing, and then there's people that their thing is expressing. And genuine expression will always be the thing that people desire. Well, that will be the thing that people want. And I think that's why guys like Joe Rogan have worked out, um, over and above because, and it's crazy because like here's the point where like it's almost like it's too much though, is that like you're like that's a person, and I can relate to him like a brother or like a dad or like an uncle or something. And I want people to really like I don't want to create a false reality, you know what I'm saying? Of who that person is. I don't want people to come up to me and be like, "Oh man, your favorite color was blue." And then your favorite color is really red. Like cuz that really will create some type of weird reality in life because I've seen a lot of people go up to real famous people. I'm not going to name names, but then they've been like, "Oh man, I thought I could embrace you, put my arm around you, and we take a picture like this, and it'd be cool." You know what I'm saying? And people go up to do that, and the guy will be like, "Yo, get the whatever, get off me," And I look at it from both aspects of the guy who is projecting the marketing. He didn't know that these people don't didn't know that wasn't real, you know. And then the other person, they didn't know that that was just a facade. So don't project a facade. And for me, it's always about being genuine in my self expression and realizing that if I have any marketing in my expression, that I can only market, like you said before, about like gravitate towards things that you like that work for you. So it's like if I'm gonna market something, it worked for me. Like if somebody is sponsoring you and they like you got that proper 12 out there
Mhm.
behind you, like
Yeah.
if somebody from proper 12 is interested in me and they're like, hey, like we want to send you cases, please do that. Like send me tons of cases of proper 12, please. Like things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of people put on this false positive, I guess you could call it, where it's like
Yeah.
I'm this person, I'm that. Uh
But
but
proper 12
person
tastes good.
well,
But you're
as you,
into UFC though?
yeah, no, I'm deep into UFC. I'm a huge Conor McGregor fan.
Yeah.
Uh
Let's talk about that,
yeah.
please.
Okay, we can talk about that. Uh you're into the UFC?
Yeah, I'm really into like philosophies. I'm really into boxing,
Yeah.
philosophy. I'm really into interviews and watching people express themselves. And I model my marketing, how I market myself after a lot of UFC fighters, like Israel Adesanya.
Mhm.
I think of myself as the first player of my universe for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah, no. I think of the MMA lifestyle, I think is requires you to be the most disciplined, some of the most
Spartans, man.
disciplined people on the planet. I mean, just cutting weight. I mean, if you got 30 pounds to cut in 8 weeks to do it, you gotta, diet. You can't one cheat meal and you're done. And so I think being a UFC fighter is kind of a lot like the military in a way, but
Yeah.
also not as like, like in your face screaming. It's just like, you got to be there. You got to show up, do your work every day. And it's like, I love it because why, like with football, you skip a workout. I mean, it's not going to like one workout's not going to be too bad. I mean, it's just one workout, one practice. It's not the end of the world. But if you skip one MMA workout and then you have a fight in 8 weeks and you skip that workout, then that workout could very well end you on the mat blacked out because you got hit with some shit you
Yeah,
didn't think
man.
about. And
And the
I think,
interesting thing about kicking is like it's exactly like that, to where you only get like one hit, but
mhm,
it's like the preparation leading up to that.
yeah,
You could take one day off, and it could cost you that one big moment, like
mhm,
that. You get knocked out split second, puncher's chance, whatever. No matter how good the guy is, you could really get slept kicking. No matter how good of a kicker you are, it could be windy, it could be whatever. The snap could be bad. You could just simply slip on a blade of grass, whatever it is. You could just kick a bad ball. You have to be constantly mindful and on your shit. And like that's why I'm like, this is the same in that way.
oh yeah, 100%. And I think that's where I get all the discipline I have is
But
because,
why Connor? What is it to you about Connor?
okay, so Connor, well, first of all, he had a quote, and Connor's the reason why I'm in the deep in the UFC like I am. He had a quote. He's like, I'm like Picasso. I You know that quote
Yeah, but
where,
go ahead and say it.
yeah, he's like, I'm like Picasso. I lost my mind in this game. To I lost my mind in this game, trying to portray a work of art. And then he was like, and once I have, a car for every day of the week, and my kids don't have to worry about anything, and my wife, who I've struggled with my whole life, has whatever she wants, that's when I know I've made it. And
Wow,
so uh that really resonated with me. And it's like, obviously I'm only 17. I have a long life to live, and
crazy.
I have a lot of stuff I still have to go do, but I do know that um, I will feel success. Like if I'm on my deathbed, and with another Joe Rogan quote, he's like, no, this is David Goggins, I think, and he's like, when you're on your deathbed and all of the souls and things of what you want, what you could have been, if you just hit that workout, if you just started that business venture, are just surrounding you,
Yeah,
and
that
they're
could have
like,
been Jocko Winkle for all we
oh
know.
yeah, oh yeah,
It
yeah,
could have been either one of those three, honestly.
yeah,
I'm just like, I don't know where that quote comes from.
yeah. And you hear it and you're like, that resonates. And so
Yeah.
it's like, and obviously I want to get married, I want to have a family one day. And so I want to set myself up, my family up, my future wife up, to where, you know if we want to go on a vacation, we can go on a vacation type stuff. And so when I hear that quote, it resonated with me. And then the way he portrayed himself, I just uh he's a very technical fighter. And he's marketing, he's a marketer. And I think that's a lot of what I do in a way. Now, I'm not necessarily that loudmouth. Well, in a competition, you got to talk, but um
Yeah,
I
but
leading up to it.
it's not necessarily words, like you don't really have to say it. Like the presence, like look, I got a loud background,
Uh-huh.
man. It's about like the thing that Connor has is that he has an aura about him. And
Yes.
you can build that up just by being personable, by being welcoming,
Hmm.
just by, allowing people to enjoy your presence, so
Yeah.
to speak. And how that happens, and you know it's funny that you said that you're 17, man, because I would have never guessed that you were that old. How old do you think that I am?
I would probably guess like 25, 26.
I'm 27.
I was pretty close.
Yeah, so I'm 10 years older than you, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy. Wow.
Mhm. Yeah, and the interesting thing is like most people that kick field goals and are about to become NFL players, or oh my
Hmm.
god. Yeah. So the interesting thing is that like most people that kick field goals and are about to become NFL players, so college seniors, or whatever, they're like what, 23, 24, 25 or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
around that age. I'm 27, so because I went to the military, I'm older. Most people that have podcasts, are like 27, 28, 30. You're
Yeah.
17, bro. So
Yeah.
how does that make, like, I mean, you got guys like Conor McGregor and stuff like that on
Mm-hmm.
your wall and stuff. You know, I think that you're moving in the right direction. You can't even drink the proper 12, but not supposed to. But
Yeah,
like I
no,
think
it's
that,
definitely just a collector's item.
yeah, I mean, honestly, like I think you're moving in a great direction, and being able, like I'll tell you, being able to compartmentalize things and put things into perspective when you're young, and realizing that you got to have all your ducks in a row before you go.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's definitely 110%. If anybody's gonna take away anything from what I say and stuff, get your ducks in a row before you go. Like, you're setting yourself up for success. You're having that vision for the future. You're looking at guys like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor started on welfare and stuff like that. That's
Exactly.
why I gravitate towards Conor McGregor, is because he comes from, as a kid, he had a lot of stuff, but he's the prodigal son. He had, or the not the prodigal son. I forgot what's that biblical story. I think that is that is the prodigal son. He goes away, then he comes back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's the prodigal son. He went away. He abandoned his inheritance. He had to go away from all that stuff, and then when he comes back, he comes back like he built something of himself, so he
Right.
doesn't need that anymore. He
Mm-hmm.
created his own legacy, and so then his father embraced him. And it's almost like you see that story happen time and time again, is that you have to embrace those real hard times to get to that positivity. And the thing about the UFC is that no matter who you are, there's a UFC fighter that will fit to your personality,
Oh,
and there's a
100%.
UFC story, there's a UFC fighter's story that will resonate with you. And Dana White, if you're watching, my foot would send anybody to the grave, I'm telling you. But like I admire these people so much, because they're gladiators, they're warriors, and they put their lives on the line, and they should be paid way more. They should be compensated a lot more. These guys are doing real amazing things.
Mm.
And like guys like Israel Adesanya, guys like Ngannou, like just the things that they say before and after workouts, before and after fights, just anything really, just like it just it just buzzes in my brain, because they say such great stuff. And I really watch a lot of interviews, and I really don't even really watch a whole lot of fights, bro. Like I really watch a lot of interviews, I watch a lot of fight breakdowns, um a lot about like philosophy. uh who's that one guy, Teddy something, Teddy Atlas, is that his name, Teddy Atlas?
Kelly Atlas, yeah.
Yeah, Teddy Atlas, Mike Tyson, um like all these guys, like it really started. I hate everybody in the world is gonna probably say this for like the next 20 years. You know, everything started with Joe Rogan, but like honestly, it was like he had all these people on and stuff, and that changed my life, because being able to know that people like Teddy Atlas was around, and people like Mike Tyson, I didn't really realize how of a beautiful mind Mike Tyson had. And so now I listen to the things that he says.
Mm.
And like he says, uh, and Teddy Atlas says this too. He says some of the best fighters, the best warriors, were farmers. I come from a rural background of very humble means, where my grandfather, my foster parents, not my biological parents, my parents that were my foster parents, they went through the Great Depression and stuff. My grandma, she would tell me about sucking the bone marrow out of you know, chicken, you know, because like during the Great Depression, she'd feed all the kids and stuff like that. She'd feed her husband, and then she wouldn't have any food. All she would have is the very, very bone marrow and stuff like that. And I remember as a kid getting goosebumps because I'm like, man, her dedication to this family, her dedication to the longevity of you know, the way of life and everything like that is just, it's just to that core that she's willing to starve herself and stuff like that. And when I watch and read those things about like, you know, again, they say Teddy Ellis said it's farmers. Mike Tyson said it's farmers. That's who the toughest people are. You know, they'd be out there physically pulling weeds in acres, miles and miles, just pulling weeds out with their hands and stuff. And they'd build strength that lasted, you know, even when they were old on their deathbeds. You'd go and you'd shake your grandpa's hand, you know, to say goodbye, and he'd crush your freaking hand because, you know, he had built that strength up throughout long, long, long periods of time. And again, I'm saying this because you're 17, bro. And so you're at the very beginning. And when I was 17, I felt like I was at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm 27 and I'm at the very, 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 very beginning. I'm a baby. You're like a sperm cell, bro. Like
Yeah.
I hate to put it into that context, you know, but it really is. Like people, I see people that are 40 years old be called kids by people that are 70 and 80 years old all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have the audacity to, when somebody calls me a kid, be like, I'm not a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 27,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And you probably think that, like, you probably, like, your mom's just like, I'm 17, you know? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, whatever. You'll feel that way sometimes, you know? But it's like, if you can have those moments where you sit and you're humble and you're like, man, I'm 17 and I'm here and I got all that way to go. Thank God, man,
Yeah.
because that means that I have the ability to add to me, to become more. You see this room? I can't fit any more crap in this room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have so much space behind you.
Yeah.
That's a metaphor, but it's also real, you
Uh-huh.
know? Like you're gonna add so much more to the person that you are, you know, and stuff like that. And you look like you look at guys like that on your wall and stuff like that. And this is why I'm saying that everybody needs to pick a UFC fighter and just follow them as they go throughout their journey. Because if you watch another man uh, make successes and make failures, and you can learn from them, then you'll be way better off. The first thing you have to do in life is be aware of your own shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is be able to act on it. And then the next one is be able to see another man's shortcomings and then be able to act on somebody else's shortcomings.
Right.
But the way you bypass all that is that you recognize somebody else that's gone way before you and you just see all the mistakes that they made and you just don't do those.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's easier from the point that you're at because you haven't made those mistakes yet to where that it's going to set your life back like immensely. All the things that are around me, all this marketing and all this other crap that we talked about, you know, it's been trial and error. And um, I have acquired these things from having really negative experiences and stuff. And that's where the complex PTSD part comes into it. And when you talk about health, you know, the number one thing about maintaining your health is having a belief system. And excuse me, you can build your belief system, you can build your self-worth in your the way that you view yourself around seeing other people like these UFC fighters. And so like during my hardest moments, it was able for me to see that I wasn't, even though I was the person going through the struggle, that struggle wasn't who I was, you know, because you can transcend those moments. So even though I was homeless, I wasn't a homeless man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was a person that was homeless. Now I'm not. Right now, I'm a guy living in a trailer. You think in 2 years I'm gonna be living in a freaking trailer?
No.
Heck no. Heck no. Do you think you think 2 years ago though that I wish I had that trailer? Like, yeah, you wish I did. It's all about going up, 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 up. And like I said about my grandfather, it's that slow growth over time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're cultivating. That's why I'm saying you're a farmer, rural. It's all about cultivating your mind and about thinking like what is growing in your head. Remember how I said before that you had to vet everything in your life? Well, I it's funny because like I remember more words of other people saying, and like this happens a lot. It's like, so Alan Watts says that you're like a gardener in your mind, right? And so the things that you take are in, the things that you're around, those are the seeds that you sow.
Right.
And they plant seeds in your mind and then they grow.
Mm-hmm.
And you go and you prune out the weeds like my grandfather in his acres, his miles and miles of fields. You have to go to the dirt in your brain and you have to pull out the weeds. You have to water the plants that you want to grow. Like you said before, gravitate towards the things that are good for you. And like part about that is compartmentalizing and, you know, just realizing that's where true health comes in.
Right.
You know, I'm not gonna go anywhere near coronavirus, you know, in the aspect of saying that I know anything about it. But people talk about their mental health in the lockdown, times and stuff. And we might go into that, but we might, go into another lockdown period or something. You never really know where life's gonna go. But I say that to reflect back onto the lockdown that we had about like what was it, like a year and a half ago or whatever
Mm-hmm.
when COVID first started. You know, that time put me in isolation where it's just me, myself, and I. And I think a lot of people had that to where they were exposed with their raw true self and like they didn't really understand what it really meant to just be by themselves. And a lot of people, they try to drown when they're alone, they try to drown it out with music. They try to drown it out with YouTube videos like podcasts and stuff like that. But sometimes you just need that silence and you need those words. You need to see what your brain is just throwing around there. So you can just be aware of just like, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm telling. That's what I'm thinking. And the little voice that you have inside yourself and those conversations that you have with yourself, that's how reality is gonna play out. And that's one thing that Conor McGregor he does. He speaks things into existence. You know, he says it before he does it. Israel Adesanya, he says it before he does it, and then it becomes.
Right.
So when I say I'm not gonna be here in this trailer, I hopefully I'll still own this trailer, but like I won't. I will have means beyond having to live in this, you know? And I say that because I'm putting it forth into reality. That's a seed that I'm sowing, you know? And so if you want something in the future, it also just for your health, for your mental wealth, as AB says, if you want to maintain those things, man, set goals, say them, plan it all out, see it all, have that vision. And that's why I'm at where I'm at. That's why we're talking. That's why everything for me is going into, it's falling into place. And, you know, with the USFL hopefully coming back, and now I have now I have a few different NFL looks, and I have some combines, and I've went and did a lot of different workouts and stuff like that. It's like the work has already been done, and I can tell that I did the I could tell that my plants, in my brain, I could tell all these things, that I did the watering and that I did the proper weeding and all that other stuff, because we're having a conversation, because agents are calling me, because those things. And so when you notice those things are going right, what do you think that I do? I stay steady. I don't go up. I don't go down. I'm not like, yay, this is so great. I'm not like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? I'm just like, it's life. I gotta stay steady. I could walk into the Super Bowl right now, in this very moment, and win the game. Because the feeling to me emotionally that I would feel right now, sitting in this chair or standing up ready to go walk in on the sideline, would be the exact same. And even if I hit the game winning field goal afterwards, I'd feel the exact same, and I'd be the exact same person. And whatever, it's crazy because, like, kicking field goals, and again, like, that could be metaphorical to you guys or whatever, but you got to find your realm in life to where the marketing works for you. Just everything's conducive to you, because I talk in the aspect of football and kicking, and I could really get into those terms and stuff like that, but it's like, you guys really wouldn't get that. You wouldn't understand, like, you guys wouldn't understand, like, things like, walking out your steps and stuff like that and whatever. But what you guys can understand is, you know seeing the process complete. So, like, before I kick a field goal, I think, yeah, I'm gonna make it. I've kicked a million field goals before in practice, so yes, I can make this. Of course I can make this. I'm going to make this. And then I envision the ball going in. But I wouldn't have those skills and stuff like that if I didn't see you, if I didn't hear the UFC fighters, Joe Rogan, Jocko Winkle, David Goggins, guys like Alan Watts, all these other random people, all these great men, if I didn't hear them speak, before I go do these things.
Right. No, I agree. I 100% agree. And I think just seeing what you do before you do it, speaking things into existence, is so key to any type of success. I believe
Mhm.
meditation, things like that, that's all stuff that needs to be used more often.
I mean, like, the funny thing about it is, it's like, it is all real, but it's all BS at the same time.
Right.
It's all BS, because, I mean, it works and it doesn't work, man, because it's a placebo. And you need to realize that it's like, whatever gets you in the mode to perform the duty, that's what you need to do. And that's the whole entire point. That's the point of health. That's the point of all these things, is like, how do you get yourself in the mode? How do you set yourself up for success? And as far as me, it's meditation and all those other things and stuff like that. But I also do recognize that it's like, oh, I'm doing something silly here. Like I'm just sitting around thinking I gotta empty my thoughts or something, you know? And then even in those times where like I'm gonna go kick a field goal, it's like I'm kicking a ball and these people are cheering. It's like it's all kind of dumb, you know? It's not
Yeah.
really that, you know? And you gotta kind of have like those type, it's again mental transmutation. So the way that you think that it is how it is. And so if you can change the viewpoint in your mind in those situations, like when I was in the USFL combine a few weeks ago, I made we we do the way these workouts with field goal kickers work is like we'll kick one field goal, we'll move to one side, and then we'll move the other side and we'll go back. You know, so we'll go maybe an extra point, and then we'll go to the 25, and then we'll go to the 30 on the other side. So 25 left hash, 30 right, 25 left hash, 30 right hash, vice versa, backing up, you know, every
Mhm.
five or whatever, you know. And I made my extra point and I was feeling good. But the thing about kicking is that when your foot comes through, so say my foot's coming through,
Mhm.
I needed to hit that perfect spot every single time. And I need my toe to be down. And I need just like in the same way of baseball, you see how like they gotta hit that sweet spot of not only the baseball, but they also gotta hit the sweet spot of the bat. And
Right.
it's the same thing right here. And if you notice, this cleat actually has kind of a little pad right there
Right.
on that bone. And so when I went to go hit the ball, I didn't hit it perfectly on that spot. And so I made an adjustment that was a quarter of an inch, not even that big of an adjustment. And that put my body so off that instead of me kicking it and the ball moving, I wanted the ball, when I kicked it and it went through the uprights, to move 2 inches to the right. And instead, the ball just went completely right and went completely off frame. And so, you know, in my head, after that happens, it's like, you know, you're on a battleship and you run aground, just all the sirens, just everything just like, and it's like almost like you envision like you're on a submarine and like the water's coming in and like everything's flooding and stuff like that. And you feel like the panic set in of like, you know, in a big moment like that, I'm at the USFL combine. I went to a small school. This is one of the least opportunity. This is like one of the only opportunities that I'm going to have at a professional uh, career.
Right.
And then I missed my next field goal. And then they tell me, hey, you got, I mean, I really don't remember if it was three or four left, but it really doesn't matter. At that moment, I missed two field goals. You know, before that, I was having a pretty okay day, but you need to wow them. And then I just missed two field goals. I'm thinking back on my life and all those things that I went through. You know, this is 2 weeks ago. I'm thinking back about all those things that I talked to you about before, about everything and all that noise and all these things. Like, how do I get rid of it? How do I calm all that down? And really, the thing about it was just not thinking about any of it, not caring about any of it, and just
Mhm.
realizing that like I'm just kicking a ball. I'm just here in a moment and just relaxing. And so like when you see Conor McGregor You know, he's there and he's got his glasses on and he's in front of the cameras and stuff like that. You know, you realize like that's a person that's feeling emotions. Like that's a person that's feeling nervous and all the other things. They allow themselves to feel those things. They don't just block that stuff out, you know? They feel it, but they recognize it as not affecting anything because you still have to get up and perform the duty that you did.
Right.
And so, you know, after I missed all those, I just walked away. I just let my mind clear out. I kicked a few balls in the net, came back. I went lights out, didn't miss a single field goal after that. And I got some film from it, you know, that I'm not actually going to be able to give to you until, you know, after the USFL starts making announcements and stuff because uh, they don't really want us to be like public about like everything and all that. But
Mhm.
you know, in that big moment, you know, it's like you think about all the things that could be or should be, but you just have to be there and present. And so to find mental wealth, mental health, or whatever, it's just like I'm working to be more present every day. I'm setting myself up for success every single day.
Mhm.
I'm taking it a day by day, hour by hour, and thinking like, hey, like how can I improve in every single area of my life? You know, every single moment, and just not thinking like I got it and I know, but I'm looking for people to tell me. You gotta put people in your life that are telling you like that's wrong, that's stupid, this is good, that's bad.
Mhm.
For the simple fact of you don't know what you know. A person that told me that a few weeks ago was Gary Zoner, and he is a longtime NFL special teams coach. Um, he coached for the Vikings for a while, and he was you know, a trainer to some of the best kickers in the world. One person that I really admire that he trained was Sebastian Janikowski. And what he told me was, these guys don't know what they do, Mike. He said, they don't know what they do. He said, I know what they do. And I, he was talking to me personally about how I went to one of his camps a few weeks ago. And when I was kicking, you know, I was doing all right. But when I finished and I kicked the ball, I'd finish and then I'd jump to way over here. So I'd kick it and then I'd jump like way over here. And normally I'd finish and then I'd finish straight and my foot would come down, I'd land straight, you know, but for some reason I was kicking and then just being way over there. And he said, Mike, do you know what you're doing this? And I'm like, no, I didn't really recognize that. And he said, well, you know, I've seen some of your Instagram videos and the ones you've been making the past few weeks, and you weren't really doing this. And I was taken back by two things. One, that he had seen my Instagram videos, so I was humbled by that. If I thought, man, I'm so great, but in an instance, I did think like, oh, I'm a little bit great, and I got a little bit egotistical, and I was thinking, there's nothing about my stuff that I need to change. But then when I went back and I really thought about it, and I went back and I watched the Instagram videos, and I thought about what he was saying, what he was saying made entire sense.
Mhm.
And it really wasn't even really about that moment, really, because that moment put into perspective a whole bunch of other things that I was thinking. And when I thought about, I don't know what I do, they don't know what they do, that we don't know, we aren't even aware, we can't possibly be aware of everything that we do. Even if we look in the mirror, we cannot see ourselves. Hold on. Even if we look at ourselves in the mirror, we can't even really see everything it is about ourselves because we're not seeing, oh my gosh, because we're not seeing the back and the front. We're not seeing all that stuff.
Right.
And so, we need to have people. And so, like, I put people in place in my life, like Gary Zoner, like Nick Novak, like these other um, really knowledgeable guys to tell me, not, hey, pat you on the back, like you're doing a great job, Mike. You're cool. You're super. That's cool. Like that's all well and good. But I want guys to tell me like that is dumb. That is bad. That is wrong. No, 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 no. I want guys to correct me. And, like that was one thing that, like again, like everything in my life comes full circle. There was a part in art that I don't know if you've ever taken an art class in high school or whatever, but like you create something and then they'll be like, you need to critique your, or you ever had an assignment in school when they're like, well, you got to grade your friends or whatever.
Yeah.
And you pick that friend and guess what? Like you give him a freaking A, man, of course, dude. This is your boy. But if we're getting real about it, if you're being real about it, it's like, man, your boy can't spell.
Hmm.
Like I'll be honest, like he wrote that E backwards or whatever. You probably get an F for that just off the rip.
Hmm.
And you know, that's why I don't pick people that, sometimes I can't pick people that are necessarily the most friendly and welcoming and stuff like that to vet my life. But you got to have those people in place. You got to have those other things in place. And if you really want to be great at marketing, you know, you need to have somebody in place that's going to tell you, don't post that. Don't don't look at don't try to portray yourself as this or as that, because sometimes there's a lot of negativity and you don't even really realize the thing that you're putting out.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's funny, man, because it's like you said that you're 17. It's like I would have guessed that you were like 20 just because of like the proper 12 in the background and
Hmm.
that kind of and the UFC shirt, and just like all those other random things, like even the pop top thing in the back. Is that what that is? The
Oh,
bobblehead thing?
yeah. Pop.
That like that became pretty popular when I was in high school and stuff. So like a lot of older guys are into that. So
Hmm.
it's like, but I would say that because it's like it's just all about like those projections and stuff. And like even in like those simple marketing things, you can have not the best camera. You can have like not the best setups and whatever. And if you're just a genuine cool dude, like Patty the Batty, you know,
Yeah.
Patty the Batty, I think I'd rather watch Patty the Batty than Conor McGregor these days,
Hmm.
because he's the baddie, I say because he's the hot new ticket.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have all the money. He doesn't have all that. But you know what he does have? He has a cool freaking accent,
Yeah.
and he's just a personable dude.
Right.
He's a genuine person, and I think that again, self-expression wins over marketing. You gotta find a happy medium in between both, but you know that's what really like finding all those happy mediums and all those things. That's what gives you a healthy life. That's what a healthy life is. It's just balance.
Hmm.
And I'm glad that you had me on here, bro. Is there any other questions you have for me though?
Yeah. No, I think we covered everything, but I will say that um I'm gonna have you back on soon. Um, I really enjoyed it. We actually ran like almost 2.5 hours. So.
Yeah, I'm surprised my camera even stayed on this long, bro. Like I had two cameras set up and the one died So I don't even know how long that was, honestly. So like that had to be at least an hour
Yeah,
after the
no.
first hour.
Yeah, we ran for a while. I'm have a lot of content. So I
Yeah, man.
appreciate that. I appreciate, like I said, it's hard getting people on
Of course, man.
because like I've reached out to like there was a dry spell where I was reaching out to like 50 people and none of them would get back to me, or they'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And then I'm like, all right, let's like set up a time and date.
Of
And
course, bro.
they wouldn't get back to me, or they would give me a time and date and then just flake on me. So
Man, people are assholes, bro. It's like here's the thing, man, is that like you just gotta fuck with people that are gonna fuck with you, and then when more people fuck with you, even more people are gonna fuck with you.
right.
Rich
Yeah.
people, they get all their shit for free.
Mm-hmm.
That don't make no fucking sense. But hey, the more you go up, the more you'll go up. Like it's just,
Right. Yeah.
and I tried doing the podcast thing and trying to chase down motherfuckers and trying to get these things was just
Mm-hmm.
too much for me.
Right.
And that's why I'm like, yo, I got a camera, I got the setup, so let's just do it. I know you'll find more people like me that they just want to express themselves and stuff. And you know, if I got anybody that I could point your way, I definitely would. I know a few guys, Ali Mortada, Ali Mortada. I'll send you his information, but he is a two-time champion last year. Um, he was a arena football kicker, and he played in the CFL, and he won both national championships last year for arena football, and he won the Grey Cup, which is the CFL uh, national championship. And I think that, if you're going to have a kicker on and you want somebody that has like some good philosophies and stuff,
Mm.
that's where I learned a lot of things that I know. And that guy is a lot better at articulating himself than me and stuff. And he's also a champion, two-time champion. And, at this trajectory of his life, it'd be, man, I'm telling you, bro, it'd be special to have him on because of the person that he's going to become in the future.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would love to have him on. But yeah, I just wanted to like reiterate myself and say like thank you for coming on. It means a lot more than you think. Um, that being said, episode
Hey,
8
bro,
in the
I know there's no
books.
way that I could possibly fathom how much it is. Cause like, hey, like when you told me that you're 17, like I had a glimpse, like I had a little glimpse of that future. Man, I'm seeing studios, I'm seeing
Yeah.
big, 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 man. Hey, after I hit the Super Bowl game winning kick, we're gonna sit down.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna be talking about it, me and you.
Oh yeah, I'm
Are
so
you
down for
chill,
that.
bro?
Let's go.
Yeah, the 110%, bro. It was
Yeah,
nice talking to you.
it was so nice talking to you as well. And like I said, I hope to have you back on soon.
Hey, for sure, man. Anytime, just hit me up.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, peace.
Peace.